We're going to talk about 5 tips that you can use to help read some of those old documents when we come back. Hey, welcome back to another episode on Genealogy TV. My name is Connie Knox, a lifelong genealogist, here to help you go further, faster, and factually with your family research. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell so that you get notified each time we upload a video. Also, there's a newsletter. Make sure you're hooked up with that. And, well, if you like what I do, please give me a thumbs up. Feel free to make comments. If you have more suggestions, put comments in the comment sections below. And, well, if you really like what I do, consider becoming a patron of Genealogy TV at patreon.com/Genealogy TV. All right, let's jump into it. Here we have wedding vows from 1834 for John and Keziah Henley, some of my ancestors. And as you can see, some of the cursive handwriting here might be a little challenging to read. So let's jump into how we can take a better look at that. So if we really start to read the first sentence or so, we can see that it says, whereas John Henley, son of, and if we get stuck here, now some of you, this may be obvious, and for others, it may not be. So in taking a look at that first name right there, what could that be? So if we start typing it out, we might be able to figure it out. And so one of the tricks to do is to just zoom in and zoom out. It's that simple. Sometimes you zoom in, you can see it a lot easier. And sometimes when you zoom out, you really can't see it that easily. So here, this, looks like a J, right? An E. Now, this is one of the other little lessons that you get to learn today. And that is that often, when you have 2 S's together, the first one looks like a modern day F. So you might think that this was Jefse, but it is actually Jesse. So this is Jesse Henley. Zooming out, you can kind of see it a little bit more. And you go, okay, I can see that now. That's Jesse Henley. So if we take a look at this document a little bit more and we go, okay, so tip number 2 is to look for similar letters. If, for example, we cannot figure out what this name is here with this very hard to read section of this letter. Now, a lot of times when you read through it, you can figure it out. Just reading it out loud will help you figure out this is daughter of. So we know this to be another name. This looks like Nixon. So now we got to figure this out. A lot of times that first letter can be really challenging. Is that a T? Is that a P? Is it a J? What is that? Sometimes tracing over that can give you some help too, is to figure out how that letter was constructed. What are the rest of these letters in that name? So if we zoom out and we take a look at the overall document, we can find other letters that are similar. So here I have pointed out several letters that are very similar to what they are. Well, in looking at those other words, we can kind of figure out, oh, wait a minute. We might not know what this is, but I happen to know that's the abbreviation for Paquimins County. This is the word publicly. This is the word people. This is the county of Pasquotank. I happen to know that because I work in North Carolina a lot. And so I knew that this was Pasquotank County. This is the word proceedings, and so on. So you're getting the idea that looking at other letters of similar will help give us a clue as to what it is. So zooming back in and taking a look at that again, we can start typing out the letters as we see them. So that's tip number 3. Type out each letter as you see it, whether you're right or wrong. Just type it out. And sometimes it's kind of like playing Wheel of Fortune. You'll figure it out. It's just another little puzzle. So as we type that out, we learn that that is a P. That looks like an H, an I or an E, not sure. There's an N or maybe an R, we're not sure. an E. This looks like an H. So what this turns out to be is Phineas Nixon. And sometimes you also have to refer to other records in order to figure that out. So this is Phineas Nixon, born 1763 and died in 1837. So tip number 4 is to look up words online to understand their meaning, their context, and don't forget to study the laws of the time. For example, dowry is a noun, right? It is money or property brought by a woman to her husband at marriage. Dower or dowry, a gift or something acquired without compensation. So if we start looking at another example, tip number 5 is to use autofill for boilerplate language or hard to read words in a search engine. So if we are trying to figure out what this word is, and again, for some of you, it's going to be very clear because you're used to reading this kind of document. But for some, this may be a very challenging word. You can use autofill to start typing it out. So maybe you understand that that's an A and maybe that's a C, but you don't know what this third letter is. You can put a question mark in there and then you can continue on. I think that's an N and an O and a W, and then before you know it, autofill starts to populate what the possibilities are. So that is another tip. Now, I have used the same idea many times when there is boilerplate language, such as in a will or in any kind of court document that has, regular boilerplate language, and, right up to the word that you're stuck on, and plug it into Google. Sometimes the autofill will give you all kinds of suggestions as to what that word can be, because it's used over and over and over again in old documents. And as people have transcribed them over the years and uploaded them, search engines have captured that cluster of words to complete your sentences. So I wanted to point out one more thing about this document. And that is, again, comparing letters. I want you to notice here on the word 100, hand. If we're stuck on this word right here, we can't figure out what this is. Take a look at how they're writing the letter D. See this hook? This hook right here? This is the letter D. And you can figure that out by looking at other words. The word hand has that hook on it. 100 has the hook on the top of the D. There are several places. The word said up here. Here's the word said again, has the hook on the D. And when we go back to the word acknowledge, it actually has a D on the end. It's acknowledged. So I just wanted to point that out, that sometimes when you get stuck on a word, it took me a moment to figure this one out. That's the word sold, that says the executors have sold. So I hope that was also helpful as another little tip on reading some of that old handwriting. So there is some quick 5 tips on how to read old documents. And well, this is called paleography. This is, the study of old writing, if you will. You can take courses on it. There's some free courses online. I will put links for all of that in the show notes. There's all kinds of good information. I'm going to leave those links for you if you want to learn more. It's good stuff. So it is time for you to go transcribe some documents, reading some of that old language, which I know can be challenging. And here's another bonus tip. Use the microphone. Just read it right into your Word documents and then go back and fix it. Sometimes that helps too, just reading it aloud. All right, I hope that was helpful. If so, give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell. And don't forget there's a newsletter. All the links for everything are in the show notes below. Until next time, keep on climbing your family tree.